Okay, so we're going to add the dry ingredients to the mixing bowl, and then we're going to put the mixing bowl in the mixer, set it going, add the wet ingredients, and then we're going to let that mix for about 10-15 minutes. Just a quick recap then of the dry ingredients that are going in. We're using McDougall's Double O Extra Fine flour, 0.4 grams of the active dry yeast. This is Thermapan Red. You don't have to use Thermapan Red. You could get any sort of active dry yeast from the supermarket. It's quicker and it's easier. That's the yeast. Salt. Any old. I mean, that's just some bog standard supermarket rock salt. I would recommend rock salt, but I'm split on whether it's worth going out and spending the extra 4 or 5 times the amount on some, moulded sea salt or something like that. I struggle to see that you'll see any difference. Although I'm aware of like the extra minerals argument. But if you're keeping costs down, like I like to, sacks of rock salt. And the reason I say use rock salt is because you're creating less surface area to come in contact with the yeast. Because the salt is an absolute killer for microorganisms because it draws the moisture out of them. So the more you can keep the salt away from it before the yeast has had a chance to do its thing, the better. So rock salt, it's not expensive, it's quite, it's affordable, it's nice and affordable. That's the salt. Vital wheat gluten, you can get this easily. This is Suma brand, I don't know if that's a good one or not. It's just vital wheat gluten. You can get it from health food shops, you can get it off Amazon, you can probably get it off eBay if you can find a reputable supplier. It's inexpensive, it's really inexpensive. The bigger, which we've already made, we've gone through that in the bigger episode. Let's just have another quick look at that. Lovely, lovely. Wet ingredients, obviously I'll fill this up and we'll weigh out the water, 216 grams of water, which I'll weigh out. And then the olive oil, which is the last thing to go in. This is just cheap, box standard olive oil, but if you want to up the health ante, go out and get yourself some nice cold pressed olive oil. I'm going to put my mixing bowl on my scales. You can still see that. Let's move it to this side. Alright, so we know we're going to use 400 grams of this. Ooh, right, it's gone a bit over, so I'm going to take that out because that is quite a bit of a difference. I wouldn't fuss over a gram, but 6 grams is quite a large difference. There you go. So it's quite important to keep this mixture as close as you can to its original amounts. You don't want to be adding in, because I mean I'll show you when I mix it. Sometimes the mix can be a little bit dry, so I'll add maybe an extra 5 ml of water. You don't want to be getting yourself into a situation where you're adding water, adding flour, adding water, adding flour, because you're just going to completely blur the composition of the actual dough, out of all kind of usefulness, for want of a better term. So that's the 400 grams of flour. What should we go for next? 0.4 grams of yeast, so I'm going to use my 0.1 scales. .4, 0.4, just a little bit more. Okay, 0.4 grams, so I'm going to zero that, it's not distracting. 0.4 grams of yeast. Alright. It will stick, but it will be getting water in here as well, so it will, any residual stuff that's sticking to the edges of whatever container you use, if you use the same container to get wear your water out and such like, it will end up coming out, or your oil. So that's the yeast, 0.4 grams of yeast. The next dry ingredient, 10.8 grams of salt. Oh, that's far too much. Cut that out. you go 10.9. I'm going to take the tiniest bit out. We don't want it at 10.7. That's it. I'd rather under egg the salt rather than over egg it. So that's your 10.8 grams of salt. Give that a bit of a mix so you're distributing the yeast in there, and again give it a shake just so it's kind of just getting distributed evenly. Okay, that's the salt, and then the final one, going for 6 grams of vital wheat gluten. That's 6.2. I think that should be fine. That's 0.2 on the vital wheat gluten. So we're going to get that in there. Get that good mix around. So that's it. That's all your dry ingredients in. We've got the flour, we've got the yeast, we've got the salt, we've got the vital wheat gluten. And all we need to add, last but not least, is the vinegar. You'll actually be able to, can you hear the, almost sounds fizzy. See that? Oh, look at that. That's why we call it a pre-ferment. That's literally fermented. Alright, so you see how that works. It's arguably over fermented. Probably don't want it looking that latticed. But it's a little bit warmer than it would be normally, but it should be fine. Alright, so just put it in chunks. Alright, let's get it spread around. And I'm ready to mix. Dead easy, dead straightforward, good to go. So mix around and then we'll get it in the mixer.